Good morning, everyone. It's me. I hope you are well. Today is December 9th, 2025 at 7:38 a.m. I've been probably up since about 5, and we have a snow warning today, so we're probably going to get some more snow, and it's cold outside. So, I thank you for being here with me today. I want to talk to you more about my time in Hollywood. But the reason is the lessons behind these stories. And for some reason, I just felt called and inspired to talk about it today. And I've always wanted to, you know? So we're going to do that. And it's not because I'm showing off or anything, like, oh, look at me, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not like that. It's about the things that I learned from these experiences, okay? And that's the most important part about it. Because I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but meeting these celebrities that I did, I think the only one that I was really excited about was James Marsters from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Okay? But I want to share with you a few of these stories and talk to you about some of the things that I've observed over the years in Hollywood, okay? And I hope that you can benefit and appreciate these stories, because I think about them a lot, There were lessons that I learned, things that I carried with me. The good, the bad, the ugly, What is that? Hold on. That's something else. So, this happened the last time. So, Salem messed up his paper bag. He ripped it right in half. Like, it was all right in half. Like, all folded out when I woke up this morning, okay? And so I went and I put it in the recycling. Well, didn't he try and just go and get it out? I love that fella. He's something else. He's got his other one in my bedroom. And I gave him his other ones the other night. That is so funny. Anyway, let me just get right to it, okay? I'm sorry. That is so funny. There's no such things as coincidences. And he loves paper bags and boxes. He was over in the freaking cardboard box I had set there for taking out the recycling in a bit. Goodness gracious. Anyway, so let's start off with the experience I had when I met Gene Simmons, okay? And this took me a little bit to realize, and when I did, I remember I cried. Like, it really, but it wasn't sad. I wasn't, upset, nothing bad. It was because I was glad that I could give him this experience, okay? So let me tell you about this. And P.S., I didn't mean that all of California, no one said anything about it, but not all of California stinks. I just meant, when I got out of the car on the Sunset Strip, we were in front of the Whiskey A Go-Go, and I took a breath, all that smell, okay? So there. But other parts in California, in Southern California, the air was warm and sweet and beautiful, and sometimes it would smell like fruit trees, and sometimes it would smell like jasmine bushes. It was beautiful, okay? So I just wanted to clarify that too. So this one night, my ex-fiance Josh, okay, he was playing a show with Hollywood Roses at the House of Blues on the Sunset Strip. And it happened to be that it was also some type of memorial / tribute to this gentleman who had passed away called Dimebag Darrell. But I had no idea who these people were, okay? See, I liked Josh for who he was, not what he did or the rock stars he was hanging out with. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that I met the majority of the members of Guns N' Roses, Duff and Steven Adler, for sure. I'm pretty freaking sure they were at the Viper Room that one night. But I still didn't know who they were, but I didn't get to talk to them that much or anything. I shook their hand or whatever. And there was a guy that always wore gloves, and he never took his black gloves off because he had a thing about shaking hands with people, no disrespect. But that was on the sidewalk one night, and I think he was either a bass player or a drummer at one time for Guns N' Roses. I can't remember. Anyway, so listen, sorry about that. So this one night at the House of Blues, they were having this memorial show for Dimebag Darrell. And Josh and Hollywood Roses were playing that night. And so there's a bar down below, and then there's like a bar upstairs that's off the green room where the guys got ready. It was really nice. There was like a really nice bathroom and everything in there. I'm going to include that part in the story. That's pretty good. So just wait. So I was upstairs, and I was with the drummer Matt's girlfriend at the time. I doubt they're still together. I don't know. It would be great if they were, but I don't think so. But if they are, congratulations, I don't know. But anyway, I was sitting upstairs with her, and her name was Kitty, and she was from India, and she was the sweetest, funniest, coolest chick I had met in a long time, and she was real, and she was a real sweetheart, honest, genuine, a really cool person. I never forgot her. Her name was Kitty, like Kitty Cat. And anyway, so I'm hanging out with her, and we're having drinks. I'm pretty sure, I was drinking just red wine at the time. And I can't remember what she had, but that's what I was usually drinking. And so, we're sitting there chilling, and we're watching the show and all of that. And then all of a sudden, during the show, she starts elbowing me. Okay, she's sitting on my right-hand side, and I look over at her, and she says in my ear real loud, "That man over there wants us to go and sit with him." And I was like, "What man?" And I look over, and there's this fella sitting down at a table. And so we were kind of, like, I just turned my head, and we're literally making eye contact now. And I said, "Oh." And he was sitting, I couldn't really see because it was kind of dark, but I knew there was somebody sitting beside him. And it turned out to be his son. And I think he was about, 15 or 16, but he was with his dad, So that's fine. And it's not like he had any alcohol or anything like that. No way. Gene didn't have any alcohol. I'm pretty sure he didn't. But I could be wrong. I can't remember. He could have had a drink, but I don't know if there was alcohol in it. Anyway, regardless. So I looked at her, and I was like, because I didn't know who it was. Okay? I swear on my soul. I did not know. But he looked like an all right fella, And like, I was friendly and sociable, he didn't look to be dangerous. I mean, it was fine. There was people around. I wasn't worried. So I said, yeah. I said, well, let's go sit with him. He's just an old fella sitting by himself. Let's go sit with him. No disrespect, okay? So we go over, and we sit with him. And he just had, it's like he knew. I don't know how. Maybe because energetically, we didn't even look at him. Like, even when I made eye contact with him, he must have known that I had no clue who this man was. And I reached out my hand, I shook his hand, and I said, "Hi, how are you?" And he goes, "Good, how are you?" He goes, "What's your name?" I said, "Lacey." He goes, "What's yours?" He goes, "Gene." I said, "Nice to meet you, Gene." He goes, "Please sit down." He was the nicest gentleman, you guys. So I remember I sat down, and he had asked me where I was from, and I said Canada. And the moment I started talking about Canada, he lit right up like a Christmas tree. And he goes, "Oh, my wife's from Canada. I love Canada. We go to Canada every year." And I said, "Oh, wow, that's great." I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was impressed, I was happy to know that he had married a Canadian lady, this man. Looks good. Yay, Canada. You know what I mean? And so he had asked me what I was doing in California, and I told him, that I was engaged to the lead guitarist of the Hollywood Roses, tribute band, And he just he was enjoying it. He had a good time at the show, and he said they were good. And well, I remember I had mentioned, that I just kind of came to California and I kind of just stayed, Then I explained a little bit why, and he looked at me and he goes, you're not hurting anybody. And he was right. I wasn't, but I was still illegally there, but he didn't care. No one did, really. Once they found out, why I was really there, they were happy that I'd come to America for almost asylum. You know what I mean? But, because what was going on was that, I had gone as far away from my parents as I could get, from Nova Scotia all the way to California, Nova Scotia and Canada. So, he had said, yeah, you're not hurting anybody. So Salem's just sitting here. Hold on one second. Buddy, it's the energy that I'm harnessing right now. That's all. So he gets all, my little fella here. Just hold on one sec. There. I opened my curtains. So he's out there looking for birds. He's happy now. He just is a little bit distracting. I'm not mean to my baby. I'm just working right now. Almost like when you have a kid and they got that squeaky toy. You're trying to work and they're running around the house just squeaking that toy. You gotta take it away. Just for a little bit. Anyway, listen. So I apologize. So we're gonna go back. He asked about where I talked about Canada. I wasn't hurting anybody. And so I ended up asking him, and I said, well, what do you do? And, I mean, you can't have, that much of an intricate conversation, right? Especially when there's super loud-ass music going on in the background. And you kind of have to, semi-holler at each other, But, I mean, we still conversated. We did. And so I said, well, what do you do? And he goes, he says, I'm a businessman. And he didn't lie. He is. He is a businessman. But he just forgot, I guess. Wink, wink. He forgot that, he was one of the biggest rock stars on the planet. That's all. And that's just fine. Because I looked at him and I said, yeah, you look like a businessman. I said, I can tell that your suit was made just for you. I said that you had that tailor-made. I can tell by the way that it's cut, and I can tell by the material just by looking at it. And I was I bet you it was expensive. But I said it in a friendly way. I was a friendly person. I still am. And he laughed, and he goes, you've got a good eye. He goes, you're right, it was. And let me see here. I'm starting to jump ahead of myself. I mean, I'm still at the right part, but I got a little emotional thinking about the end of it. Anyway, listen, he was the nicest, friendliest, gentle giant I'd ever met. I remember when I found out who it was, that I was just nah, that ain't him. That wasn't him. He was probably a lot different when he was younger, But I remember when we were ready to get up and leave, because maybe Josh had stopped playing a set and I wanted to go and see him and smoke a cigarette or whatever again. This man was just a man with his son. And his son was very shy. He didn't talk to us. He didn't really look at us. He was watching the show. And that's just fine. I didn't take it personally. He was a young fella. And I mean, now that I know, he was probably used to his dad talking to women all the time. But he wasn't a pervert in any way. Okay? Gene Simmons. All right? Shit, I lost my train of thought. Hold on. Right. So, when we were ready to go, he stood up. Now remember, he was sitting the entire time. And I was in flats. I wasn't wearing heels. It's hard to walk around in Hollywood like that on those sidewalks in high heels. I couldn't do it. I did sometimes, but then I would usually change my shoes anyway. So when he stood up, I went, holy. He was so tall and broad-shouldered, and it was because of his suit too. It fit him very nicely. It looked good. But he looked very professional in it. But holy shit, he was tall. And I looked at him, I said, oh my God, sir. I said, look how tall you are. I said, you got giant in your blood? And we laughed about it. It was so funny because my reaction was so genuine. You know what I mean? I was shocked. Because compared to me, he felt like a freaking giant. Anyway, so I shook his hand and we left. And it was a really nice experience. You know what I mean? But here's the most important thing, okay? I thought about that for a while. And then after I learned that he's one of the biggest celebrities in the world, I thought to myself, oh. I was like, I bet you that doesn't happen to him very often. I bet you, he knew that I did not know who he was. And for once, he probably just wanted to chit-chat with somebody that would treat him like Gene the man, not Gene the rock star. Not Gene the rock star from the band Kiss. And that's why I get emotional about it, Because that's sad. If you can't have empathy or compassion for another in that way, it doesn't even matter. Even if it was an honest-to-God demon. Doesn't matter. I'm not calling Gene a demon. No disrespect, eh? But the way that he presents himself on stage and all that, you know what I mean? And let's just forget about this stuff, because we're going to get to that later, okay? I want to tell you this story first, though, about all the friggin' crazy nonsense and quote-unquote Satanism stuff in Hollywood later on, okay? But I don't want these videos to be super, super long, because I'd like people, their attention span isn't that long, so, So anyway, we're just going to move on, because when I've told people this story before, they're like, oh, well, that's what they sign up for. No. Everybody, okay? Without harping on about it all this too long. Not that it's not important, because it is. This is the most important part about it. Everybody deserves to be treated as if they're human. Everyone deserves to be loved for who they are. And it's shitty being a celebrity. It is. I've seen it. And I felt really bad for him. Because I bet you all the fucking time. And it's not just him. There's lots of them. I've seen it. Where people will come up to him and be friendly. And then be like, oh. And this is just an example. Like, this didn't happen to him while I was there. But I bet you it does. Oh, can you give my name to so-and-so? Hey, can you help me out? Hey, do you think you can lend me some money? For real. It does. And so it's like, I'm sure that it feels like at least one point that they're like, you know what? People don't actually love me for me. And that can drive you crazy for sure. It can. It's very painful. And I'm sure it is for them, because people get these ideas of who they are. And as the celebrity, I'm sure you're always wondering, is this person being nice to me because it's me, or because they know who I am? And so, yeah, I hope that I have articulated that well enough. It was a memory that I have held with me. Josh was pretty annoyed, not for real annoyed, but he was like, oh, are you for real? Because I met him and didn't know who he was, but of course Josh knew who he was, And I'm like, I'm sorry. He said, well, did you get a picture? Well, no, because I didn't have anything to take a picture with. Even cell phones back then, he had an old ass, I think, Nokia flip phone. I think it was the same one when we were on the Indiana Jones ride and it flew out of his hand into the freaking fake lava pit. But then Disneyland sent it back to us. So we got it back. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was that. So I think you could take pictures with that, but like it just wasn't like that back then. This was like 2007 or 8. I can't remember. I should, but I don't. I don't even have pictures of myself from back then because I had gained a lot of weight being in California and I was like insecure about how I looked, you know? Even though I always loved myself for who I was on the inside, like, dang, I blew up like the girl on the Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory Blueberry Girl at the end. You know what I mean? Oh man, I went up to like 215 pounds. So, you know, but the food out there was so delicious, I just couldn't stop eating it. That's how that happened. So, thanks, America. I love you. For real. I miss it. I miss California a lot. Sometimes. I don't know if I could go back and see it today because I think I want to remember it just as it was, you know? Not saying that I wouldn't want to go back and like maybe someday, but I don't know. I think it's changed quite a bit. But yeah. But yeah, I don't know. That was a really great night. And goodness gracious, let me see. Is that all I want to say before I want to end off with that? Because that's definitely something that you want to end off the story with for sure. What I'm about to tell you. Yeah. I mean, I remember meeting these other fellas in one of the other green rooms, and they had some really delicious buffet style looking food, and they offered us some, and I was like, oh, no, thank you. But I wanted some. But they were really nice. No, I think that's it. So later on, that lovely young lady, Kitty, who I had a great night with that night, we danced together, all kinds of stuff. Down. Eventually we were downstairs. I didn't stay the whole time upstairs, you know. We were downstairs, but then we went up and we had some drinks. But she had gotten us some tequila shots, and I didn't have to pay for alcohol. The tab was covered for her and I. But, so she brought us these tequila shots. And I just need to give you another lesson and a warning in this story because it is absolutely true. And I've told people before, ooh, yep. And I was right. And this one woman didn't listen to me. I will tell you that. Just hang on. Listen, if you're eating right now, stop. Okay? And if you got a weak stomach, don't listen to this part. Because listen to this part though. Wait, don't go. Never, ever mix tequila and red wine together. Okay? This is why. Because you will throw up like the Exorcist. Okay? All right. Now you can go. Have a good night. Take care. Okay. For those of you still here, all right, that's exactly what I did. I mixed red wine and tequila. And let me tell you, that was one of the worst mistakes of my life. Because I've never done it again either. Because, okay, so remember I told you that lovely bathroom in the green room there, upstairs, the House of Blues, it's like a little hallway offshoot backstage, you know what I mean? Upstairs though. I had this lovely bathroom. I went in there, okay, I closed the door. Okay, I don't drink anymore. I don't drink anymore at all. Not a drop. Not because of this, but this. Ooh. And I was like at least 3 feet away from the toilet, man. Like, I got it all in there too. I puked like the Exorcist into the toilet. Oh man. And I just had one really good puke. Okay. I got it all out and then I felt better, okay? And I like rinsed my mouth. I flushed and I cleaned up and whatever. If I got any anywhere, I swear. I didn't get any on me either. Okay. I'm so sorry. But this is something that I'll never forget. And then I walked out and I saw Josh. And listen, I was really drunk. Okay. Like that tequila and red wine messed me up. And I didn't even smoke weed back then. But I definitely saw Josh. And I was like, Josh! And I walked up to him, man. And I just laid one on him. And I gave him the tongue and everything. And you know what? I told him afterwards, I'm like, I just threw up. He was like, ah. He like cried out like, ah. Okay. And everybody started laughing. Because it was funny. I was super drunk. Okay. But this was later on. I was not that drunk. I was a little drunk. I had a couple glasses of wine, but I swear I wasn't that drunk when I was sitting with Gene. But I was drunk later. And that's what happened. So I'm going to leave that off there. And, well, unfortunately, I have a little bit of a confession myself because, well, I didn't have the greatest day. I believe it was after I sent the email, and then, well, it's, the thing is that I had to go and get some weed. And, unfortunately, I've gone back to exactly what I was doing before. And what happened with Corey Good for Nothing did not help. But if I can do it once, I can do it again. You know, it's disappointing, I know. But trying not to be too hard on myself and just trying to get through it. You know what I'm saying? Like I know it's just weed, but it's just kind of shitty, you know? So that's why I'm not on camera, to be honest with you. Because I'm pretty high right now. But talking about this is something that really makes me happy. My memories back then. But also the lessons learned and what it taught me, you know? So I'm going to continue on talking about this kind of thing. About celebrities, Hollywood, stuff I learned about that, and other experiences. But I'm going to do it in another part, okay? So I will see you again in that one. And I wish you a great day. And, of course, I hope you're enjoying the holiday season if you celebrate. And Merry Christmas to you if you celebrate that. And, yeah. Take care. Bye.